Okay. So, what is, I'm sure all of us are asking, but we already know, right? To a large extent, we've been hearing about this on the TV, on the radio. We've seen the billboards all around. The hype is up, right? If you don't yet know about the Olympics, you need to tell us where you're calling in from, what city in France you're living in, because we need to understand understand what's going on and why you've not heard about it. But I'm sure everyone on this call is aware that Olympics would be happening in France. Since we are not a lot of us connected yet, I think let me just see how many people. I think we have, yeah, we're not a lot of us yet. So maybe we can just start by understanding where we are at. Please, could you just put on the chat what city you are tuning in from? We're about 18 of us on this call. You could just drop a message to everyone, just mentioning your city. So I'll start. All right. So we just have sort of an idea of where we're all at around
Yeah.
across France. Yeah,
Okay.
I put on.
Paris.
I think it's to. Okay, so Rennes, Paris, a lot of Paris, huh?
Mm,
Toulouse,
Toulouse.
lovely.
Interesting.
Lyon, lovely. Paris again, good, good, good. Paris, Paris. Don't worry, this is not the Olympics game yet, so we can't say Paris has won. But Marseille, yeah, second Marseille, Normandy,
Mm,
and okay, oh, that's such a wide spectrum of participation across different cities. It's great to see everyone. Yeah, great to see everyone. So I'll just share my screen. I just did a very short presentation on numbers, just particularly numbers, what the numbers look like in terms of the Olympics. Just something to whet our appetite and in terms of just understanding what this looks like in terms of opportunities, right? So let me share my screen. Could you allow me share my screen, please?
yes, hold on a sec.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
okay.
make
Thank
you
you.
the host so you can share your screen. All right,
Thank you.
go ahead.
All right, so I'll just okay. So the Olympics is just exactly 132 days from now. Um, I did this. I took this screenshot about 20 minutes ago. So it's days and about 30 or 40 minutes or 40 hours. No, 130 days and 1 hour, exactly around 1 hour
1 hour,
from
20 minutes. Mhm.
yeah. So just about 132 days to go. So every day is a countdown. And this session will allow us to understand what can we do, because the truth is that if you're in France during the Olympics, either you're leveraging on the opportunity or you are being disturbed by the opportunities because you cannot avoid it. The transport will be difficult that period. You will see tourists everywhere, noise on the street. So it's if you don't maximize the opportunities around your cities, you would be affected by the opportunity. So it's either two things. You have to decide, or you want to leave France that period, or what the games, or so it's either you take part of on the event, or the negative externalities would, one way or the other, affect you. That's how it happens, right? When it comes to sports, when it comes to games, when it comes to these things. And that's really what this session is about, is saying, okay, we might not have had the time to think about what the event looks like, what the Olympics looks like. But then this is an opportunity for us to then reflect and think about what could this be, and what are the opportunities that we may not have thought about that we could leverage on. It's an interactive session for us to share ideas and suggestions. So it will take place from Friday 26th of July to Sunday 11th of August. 2024. So it's within a period of about 3 weeks, right? If my calculations are correct.
Yeah, it's a
Something around
2 weeks event.
2 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Something around 2 weeks and a few days, from what these numbers are showing across different cities. So we have Paris, Bordeaux, Châteauroux, Lille, Lyon, Marseille, Nantes, Nice, Saint-Étienne, and finally Versailles, right? I didn't miss any city out. If your
Mm.
city is not on this list, your city is definitely not too far from a city on this list. That's how they try to disperse the games. But don't forget, when tourists come, tourists will not uh, just plan to watch games alone. People are spending a lot of money to come to France that period. They're going to visit. People would like to go to different cities. So there will be a spillover effect across every city of France. And there will also be games taking place outside metropole. So I just really talked about here metropole, France metropolitan cities, but there will also be games in, for instance, the Outre-mer, the Dom-Tom and all of that. So other parts of that are attached to France, what they call the Outre-mer. It's estimated that there'll be around 50 million visitors in France that period for the Olympics, including 2 million from abroad. So there'll be a lot of visitors traveling within France, but there will also be a huge flux of visitors from outside France coming specifically for the Olympics. Just to put that in perspective, 2 million is more than the population of Namibia. It's more than the population of many countries, more than the population of Monaco, more than the population of the Vatican City, more than the population of so many countries you can think about in the world. So there will be countries, the whole world will be in France for these Olympics, and it's an opportunity for for everyone to think about what you could do during that period, and in the lineup to that period to also take advantage of this. It's the third time ever the Summer Olympics will be holding in France. The first time was in 1900, the second was in 1924, and now 100 years after. So we can also say this is perhaps a once in a life opportunity. It only happens once in one city in a lifetime. Maybe the next time will be 20, another 100 years would be 2124.
Oh.
For those of you that will be here at the time, um, you can raise your hands up. But then, but yeah, just jokes apart. But just to emphasize that it really just happens once in a lifetime. And but of course, you can always travel for other games. But it's not the same as when you're living in the city or in the country, because then you're more positioned to take advantage of opportunities. In terms of budget, it's said that the budget for the Olympics is around 8.8 billion, but it's estimated that about 15 billion has been spent already. You know, there's always cost overruns. They're building stadium, they're renovating roads. Like I've never seen the kind of infrastructure expense that's happened in Marseille since I've been living in Marseille for the last going to 4 years now. The last couple of months have been so intense in terms of they're building this tram, they're renovating this road. There's been massive investment and it's already showing. And all this investment means that also, let's not forget, it's not just about the tourism and the visitors coming, it's also about also the job opportunities, the investment going in. And these are job opportunities for short-term job roles. It could be engineering, it could be hospitality. It's opportunities that actually trickle down across all sectors of the economy. And that's the good thing when it comes to sport, when it comes to things like this. And we all would have an opportunity to leverage on it. So now we'll just be going into sort of brainstorming around all of these numbers and statistics around the Olympics in terms of the dates to be holding, the cities to be holding, the number of visitors expected. What kind of opportunities do you think would arise from around this? If you have some thoughts, please, you could drop them in the chat. We'll be taking them one after the other and just addressing them. And if you also would like to share some thoughts, please feel free. This is an interactive session. Feel free, and then you could share your thoughts as well. Give everyone an opportunity that has something to share to also to do the same. In terms of, there's also as Kachi mentioned, there'll be a short panel where some persons that we know are already consciously working around the Olympics will just share what they are doing, what they are hoping to do, or what they are doing, what they are planning to do as well, right? And if you're already in that category and you're already working concretely towards something, please share. You never know. You might just be looking for the last, let's say, 500 euros or 2,000 euros to complete the budget. You have to do something, and somebody here might say, you know what, I was also thinking of that idea. Instead of us doing it differently, why can't we work together, right? That's the idea of collaboration and joining forces together, because it's going to be massive, right? And if we can work together, some people might say, I have an apartment somewhere. That period, I want to leave. I want to put my apartment on rent. But because I'm leaving, it will be difficult for me to manage it at the same time. So there might be somebody here that says, oh, I'm not living too far from there. I can actually do concierge service for you during that period. Or two people might join together to say, okay, you come and stay in my place. We put your own place on the rent. We furnish it. We make it nice. We list it on Airbnb. So the opportunities are massive that everyone can take advantage of it. Everyone can play a role, right, when it comes to the Olympics. So in terms of how the panel is going to go, we start just from the ideas. We have listed a few things around more. So if you have some ideas that are not already listed here, please drop them, and then we'll just take somebody to talk about an area that is their core, right? I'll just call on, I just want to know if some panelists are here. I can see Biodun is connected. I saw Tayo as well. Tayo, are you there? Okay, I see Tayo is connected. Is Babatunde connected as well? Babatunde Ojora of OJB Sports. Okay, not yet. Obina, is Obina connected?
Not yet as well.
Obina is not yet connected. Okay, so we'll just start from maybe Abiodun can come in first. Or would you like to go in maybe later to talk about especially the delegation from Nigeria in terms of the opportunities that the Nigerian participation in the Olympics is going to create or bring on board. And because when Nigerians come here, they are looking for Nigerian food. So if you are a caterer, I see Wendy is connected. So that's a massive opportunity, Wendy, and everyone into the catering and food industry as well. People will need to eat Nigerian food, that's sure. They will not eat baguette and croissant for 3 weeks. Otherwise, they will swear for France.
Sorry, please. We just advise that everyone puts their stuff on mute. I know that I can hear some background noise from different places. Please try to mute your mic and then carry on with what you're doing. If you need to speak, you can raise your hand or drop a message and we can call on you.
Yeah, thanks, Kachi.
John, because you are the host right now, John, I think you have to mute everyone for now. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so Abiodun said he's going to join us in 10 minutes to give his talk. So I think while we wait for Obina and OJB, John, maybe you can start with some of the opportunities that you already listed and how that would come into play. John, you're on mute. We can't hear you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Kachi. So Tayo, I would like you to join me on this first part, which is short stay rentals. I know you've been planning and cooking some things up in your own way in terms of real estate, in terms of preparing for short stay rentals. So tell us about the short stay rentals opportunities during the Olympics and what you are looking to do and what sort of areas you need help with. If, for instance, somebody here could also take part in that or just share freely your ideas around short stay rentals. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, John. You can hear, I mean, I'm audible, right? I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. All right. So thanks for the opportunity. Yeah. So regarding short stay rental, I think let me just take a step back a bit to talking around the context as to how the opportunity happened. Like, I mean, I think as was rightly mentioned at the beginning, the constraints are very clear. The Olympics is coming. It's the third time it's happening in France, and for me, it was more of a thing of where can one take advantage, given the resources we have available to us, which is okay. One is time. Okay, do I have enough time to be able to maybe take advantage of one or two opportunities by the side, or do I have some money by the side that I can use to maybe take advantage of one or two opportunities here and there? So and for me, it was very clear time wasn't an option for me because these days I don't have too much time at my disposal. But I happen to be fortunate enough to be in a place where I had some savings at my disposal to make an investment into buying an apartment within Paris, uh, with the long-term plan initially being to just rent it out on Airbnb or to do a classic rental, but it just happened to be that the Olympics were around the corner. So I try to make this as inclusive as possible, my discussion, and straight to the point. But where I'm going with this is, so I an opportunity came up to buy an apartment at almost half the price that it usually sold. Of course, given this kind of constraint, most of the time it's a trainer's sell where somebody's either desperate to sell because he's looking to finance an immediate transaction, or it's in the case where it's at times a social apartment and stuff where the um, social companies looking to raise funds to probably put the money into something. You know, long and short of it, this kind of sales, long and short, this kind of sales are usually very time sensitive, and it goes by very very fast, and one has to be very reactive. So. I knew I didn't have much time on my side. I had to be reactive as possible. I spoke with my bank. They gave me a simulation of what my loaning to get the apartment was going to look like, and then I communicated that to the company. And fortunately, my dossier was validated. Basically, that's another long story in itself. But yeah, more or less, it was validated, and but anyways, to speak to, because I'm speaking a bit about my personal experience and where I am right now with the opportunity. But I'll be coming to where uh the opportunity can be a bit more inclusive for anyone, irrespective of where you are, whether it is time that is your constraint or if it's money that is your constraint, how each and everyone can participate in some of the opportunities that are made available in the real estate space. So just to wrap up my own experience. So yeah, the opportunity came up. I closed the deal very quickly, and yeah. So right now I'm actually in the process of finalizing the bank sending the agreement to the company to finalize the acquisition of the apartment, and then equipping the apartment with all the short stay rental appliances and stuff to put it live ahead of the Olympics. But anyways, where I'm going with this is this. I mean, the point is not to talk about, I mean, the fact that I have an apartment in Paris or anything like that. Is to share how all of us can take part in similar opportunities, really. So uh, while I was fortunate enough to be in a place where, at the time, I was able to negotiate my former company, where I got a sizable um, sort of, quote unquote layoff package that I was able to use to acquire the apartment, before I started my new job. Of course, I understand not all of us are in that situation. So at the time, whether I was going to get that or not, I knew I wanted to, take advantage of this opportunity coming the Olympics. So the other thing I was looking into, and I think this is where this is one that can be much more inclusive in terms of anyone in whatever situation you are, to be able to participate, is the opportunity. And I think Obina is probably going to talk a bit more into it because he's very much more into that sector of activity. It's uh, it's it's subletting basically. Subletting is basically you don't need to commit your funds, a sizable amount of funds, to buy an apartment so you can rent out. So subletting is basically you are renting from an apartment owner, and he is getting a certain amount, as rent, as classic rent, while you take the risk of having to rent it out on a short-term basis, like Airbnb or whatever it is you have to do. Of course, the other thing we have to be cognizant with in this particular sector is there are certain restrictions surrounding Airbnb practices around Paris. So we just have to educate ourselves around all of that to take advantage of these opportunities. But there is that possibility, and the advantage of that is you do not need to commit sizable amount of funds to have an apartment that you can rent out on a short-term basis, basically, and for sure during the Olympics, I mean, it's a no-brainer in terms of the demand that is going to be significantly high in and around Paris. Not just, I mean, I'm not even talking of like 10, 15, 20 kilometers outside of Paris, and not just Paris, like I think the list of cities were mentioned. France is going to be a hub of visitors here and there. We talked about the numbers of people that are going to be involved in the Olympics and stuff. So it's a no-brainer that there's going to be huge demand in terms of just people wanting to visit or people looking for apartments to stay, in and around the hubs that are going to be hot during the Olympics period, basically. So there is that opportunity which I initially thought about, and thankfully I just happened to, stumble onto, let's say, funds that allowed me to make a significant investment to get the apartments I was able to get. So there is that possibility of doing that, for those that are interested, in a sense, to go into short-term rental. Now, the key, I think, my understanding of the legal implications of that is that the key clause behind that is the person that you are renting from has to be okay for you to be using his apartment for Airbnb. So I guess that's probably the tricky part, getting an owner that you would be renting the apartment from that'll be okay for you to use his apartment to do an Airbnb. It's the legal clause required to be able to do the short stay rental. But typically, some of these guys don't really care as far as they are getting their money on a regular basis, and then you are paying them their rent. They don't care what it is you're using them to do, what it is you're using your apartment to do. Like as far as you're paying your rent, you can use it to do whatever it is you want to do and stuff. So yeah, so there is that possibility basically of taking advantage of this, and so yeah, as was initially mentioned, it's an interesting period because it's something that doesn't happen too often, and it's a time where, again, either it's as again, like I go back to what was initially touched on, either it's going to be disturbance for us or it's going to be a period where we can take advantage of and come out on the happier side in a sense, because from my understanding, I think the price of the Navigo 2 is even going to increase that period. Good luck Parisians, because I know half of you guys are in this call. I mean, so yeah, so it's one of those things where we just, I mean, have to find ways to position ourselves in a way, in a place where it's slightly more advantageous to us. Again, I mean, there is, I guess, maybe some other people will come and talk about the opportunities that are bound for people that have a bit more time on their side, for example, which could be the case for some of us, or it could be a mix of the two. Like this short stay rental, doing sub rental is sort of like an annex of those that don't have too much time and those that don't have too much money, in a sense where you are delegating a lot of it. If you want to invest a bit more of your time, then you can go into a bit more management, which allows you to save some cost on the apartment. Or if you don't have that much time, then you delegate the management of the apartment to some of these conciergerie companies, for example, that manage the apartment, and they collect like 15%, 20% of the revenue you're getting from your Airbnb, from the apartment and stuff like that. So there are a lot of options in this sector, right? So yeah, that's a quick summary of where I am with this and like what opportunities are bound in this sector. And of course, if there are any questions or anything, I'll be happy to give any answers to the measure of the limited knowledge I have, at least at this point in the sector.
Thank you for this background you've laid on short stay rental. Do you personally have the need for instance, if you have somebody in Paris, for instance, that is saying, I've got some time, is that an opportunity you're open to delegating? Have you already chosen a concierge company, or is this still an opportunity available on your end so that people on the call can know if they can reach out to you afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, it is something I haven't chosen quite yet. I've
Okay.
had a few propositions, so I haven't quite chosen. So yeah, I mean, like if there are people that are competent enough in the consejery aspects, I'll be more than happy to have that discussion with them too.
Okay.
In terms of managing the apartment, yeah. So that's one thing I'm still on the lookout for right now. Yeah.
Okay. And where's the apartment located? Just so that people can know where.
Yeah. So the apartment is located at Villepinte. Villepinte is
Villepinte.
yeah.
That's
Villepinte
not
is
far from the airport, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's right in the middle of it's closer to the airport than Paris, but it's right in somewhere in the middle between Paris and the airport, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So I think this gives a good background. So now an opportunity has opened up. An apartment is in Villepinte that Tayo owns and is open to anyone that could have possibly this consideree affinity or has the time to do this, right? Would you be listing this on Airbnb, right? Or on other platforms as well?
Yeah, so it's multiple platforms. It's all
All right.
platforms, Booking, Airbnb, and everything. And of course, it would be nice for whoever it is to, of course, have a certain level of, like being able to manage like software skills and stuff like that. Okay, I mean, not necessarily coding or anything, like just very basic, Airbnb, management and stuff. Because the whole idea behind it is because it's going to be multi-platform listing. So there is a
Okay.
software I'm looking to use to manage the multiple platforms to avoid double booking and stuff like that across the multiple platforms too. So yeah, just having some level of conversance and
Thank
ease
you.
with some of these softwares would be an additional plus. Yeah.
And when you have those notes, you can share with us as well. We are on the business committee. We're taking every note.
Yeah.
Multiple platform. I do know
We're
about this
taking it.
multiple this
Yep.
Yeah.
multiple platform thing. It's quite
Yeah.
interesting. Actually, what do you
Yeah.
think? Because you have also done some real estate and
Yeah, so I think multiple platform bookings, they are already ERP systems that manage them. Speaking of conciergerie, so let's not it's a fancy word for saying you take care of check-in, check-out, cleaning the place and making sure everything is okay. That is basically what conciergerie is, managing who comes in and who leaves and making sure the place is okay. So I believe also this is also for the aspect of where you need your landlords if you are subletting. Um, Booking, I don't think they ask for consent from your landlord. I don't think Booking asks that. Libon Coin does not ask for that either. So for people who are looking to bypass Airbnb, should I be saying this? Yes, for people who are looking to bypass Airbnb, you can put your stuff on Booking. You can put your stuff on Libon Coin. You can always do short stay rentals with those without having to get explicit authority from your landlord. But of course, this is something that works, especially in a period like the Olympic. It's really something that in Paris people are going to. You can be homeless, believe me. Just be homeless for a few weeks. Call one of your friends somewhere and say, "I'm coming to stay with you," and then you can share the revenue.
you can go to
It's something
Pau,
I
go
think
to
is a good.
Pau, any of those cities where you have tranquility and just rent your apartment in Paris.
Because it's going to be a huge, huge opportunity. It's a huge opportunity. But thank you,
Amazing.
Tayo, for sharing your opportunity with us, and I hope someone here is going to take advantage of it. Viewpoint is an interesting place. It's, like you
Yeah.
said, in between Paris and the airport, so you have your Airbnb to go.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I'm talking about like you talked about the fact that I mean, yeah, okay, I know you joked about it a bit, but like I literally know one of my former directors that his wife has a medical facility within Paris, and within the Olympics, she's shutting it down and converting it on Airbnb, and they're traveling to the south of France.
It's just believe me, it's an opportunity. Like you have to. It's the best opportunity, short-term opportunity to make a lot of money with
Yeah,
your apartment that you're paying how much. It's really, really interesting.
yeah, so
Don't
like
do that.
sorry,
Just go
just to
ahead.
go this opportunity that I'm talking about, like, because I already acquired the first apartment at Bobigny, but that is going to be available. It's a new building. It's supposed to be available by the end of the year, at which time Olympics is going to be over, right? So I kind of had to stretch my capacity, my tout on most sort of with the bank, to get this opportunity, because I knew it was available. It's going to be online before the Olympics and stuff, and I know anyways that if I'm able to get it right before the Olympics, like, there is the possibility of me, getting ROI up to, like a significant level of my ROI, like just during the Olympics, alone itself, ahead of not to not talk of the opportunities that are bound like before and after Olympics, because people still keep coming in before and after, and they'll still stay around after the Olympics and stuff like that. So it was a thing of stretching myself to my limits, knowing full well that Olympics there will be traffic. There's no two ways about it, in a sense. So yeah, and then just to touch on the short-term rental thing, particularly regarding the legal implications, of getting the landlord involved. Now, of course, yeah, there are ways to, go around it and everything. If the long-term purview of the person looking to take advantage of the opportunities to register it as maybe an LMNP, as a legal structure in France, whether it's an LMNP or an SCI or whatever legal structure you're looking to put it into, there has to be that consent from the landlords. It's French law, basically, just to be clear about that. I mean, of course, there are ways to go around it, but yeah, if it's something that is to be seen as a long-term opportunity, in a sense, there has to be that consent. Like, it's just one of the things that is required to be able to run with it, legally, basically in France, just to touch on that. Yeah. So, but anyways, yeah, it's a nice opportunity, and of course, yeah, anyone that's interested, in the check in, check out, aspect, particularly in and around viewpoint and stuff, I'm more than happy for us to have that discussion. Well, so yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Tayo. Thank you. So
Thank you
Obina
very
is on
much.
the call. Obina can take the part of subletting, right? So on one end, Tayo has said, I talked about the part of you buy, you acquire, and then you put your property to work. You put it on rent, taking advantage of the Olympics. So we'd like to hear another perspective from somebody who has been able to test the Airbnb market long before the Olympics, the short stay rental market, right? So from subletting properties. So Obina, over to you. Please give us some words around how you're positioning to take advantage of the Olympics and what sort of suggestions you have and ideas you would have for members on the call that are also looking to do the same. And if you also have opportunities where you're looking for hands to collaborate with you, this could be an opportunity where on this call, someone might say, oh, here I am. We can do this together, or we can, we can work with you on this or this area or that area. So over to you, Obina. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thanks, Kachi and Tayo, for the comments already. That's gone all the conversation thus far. I completely agree. I think it's a great opportunity to cash in on the Olympics. But I also think beyond the Olympics is also a nice thing to do, to get into the shortlet business. Now, I've had two main experiences. One from where I did it first, and then another from where I currently stay now. And in the first case, it was also a member of FON. I was living in Sergi, and he was living in Paris. And so he just put on the group one day that he was looking for a roommate. So I reached out to him to say, well, I'm not intending to come and stay in your place, but since you're in Paris, come and stay in my place. And then
Speaking, can you mute or maybe catch if you can mute?
Yeah, I'm going to try to look for
you.
who the person is.
All right, open up. Please
Am I audible?
Yes, very audible.
Okay. So I said, rather than you finding someone to stay in your place, why not you come to stay in my place? And then we'll list your place. And we tried it and it worked for a while. But then we had to stop because, of course, we didn't get anybody's consent to do that. And so when I moved to the place where I currently stay, which is somewhere at the outskirts of Paris, but close enough to Paris. I mean, it's on Metro Line 1, which is pretty much very accessible to Paris. And of course, it's also a central place. There's RERA, there is, I think, E now, and the trams and the metros, and Metro 1 gets there. So I actually started there as well without consent. So, but then I ran it for a while and I thought, okay, so in order to make it more long-term and not have to feel like I'm doing something wrong, let me speak to the landlord. So I did. I spoke to the landlord, and he's a gentleman. So he said, okay, that so long as neighbors don't complain about anything, that he doesn't have any problems at all. And that's the basis of the relationship. But then I want to say that if you choose to do it without consent, honestly, I don't think there's anything. I think there's something wrong if the landlord has a problem with it. But if the landlord doesn't raise the red, he doesn't challenge you about it, then you can get away with it. But I read a few cases online about people who have done it without consent. And the judgment is always the same. All the money you've made, you carry it and give it to the landlord. So essentially, you're making money for the landlord. And God help you if you spend all the money because they don't want to know whether you kept it in the bank or not. So I think if you don't own the place, you want to sublet, I think it would be nice to be able to speak to the landlord. Will they agree? I don't think so. I think there are very few who will just agree like that, like my landlord did. But I'm thinking that maybe it depends on the rapport you have. Maybe if you can make them a deal so that they get a share of the whatever you're making, then maybe it might be more interesting. But that also takes somebody who's open-minded. Yeah, but that's the much I have by way of experience in the context we're referring to, which is Paris. Thank you.
Thank you, Obina, for sharing your experience.
By the way, let me add this bit. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just wrote a book. It's titled Oil to Web. And what I'm focusing on in that book is to sensitize Nigerians in Nigeria to seek opportunities for work abroad, like digital work. Okay, so they can be in Nigeria and work for companies abroad. And in that book, I specified a number of roles that different individuals can play. I thought about the framework that is working right now for people getting skills and being able to work for companies abroad. And that's sort of like the model that Andela uses, or Decagon, all these guys who train software developers, and they have them meet clients abroad and they deliver from here. And so I began to look at the elements of each of these different models that are working and how we can, at low cost, bring all of these things together so that on a large scale, people can actually acquire these digital skills and be able to deploy these services. So that led me to specifying roles for like corporate entities like churches that have space and they have chairs and people can turn them into learning centers during the week. And same goes with schools during the evenings and people who are skilled, let's say software developers, for example. I know Lumide was at one time doing some free training. If we give him a platform where he can, reach 200 people who will just join him in the evening, 2 sessions a week kind of thing, people who are enthusiastic about things like that. And then Nigerians in diaspora, which is the part that led me to this conversation. Airbnb communication is managed by somebody who's in Nigeria. She's in France now, but she used to be in Nigeria when she started. So, and that gave us the leverage to be able to retain some profits, more profits, unlike having to use somebody who's local there. So the way we sort of think about our business, the business we do in Paris, is to outsource anything that can be delivered digitally to Nigeria. That saves us a lot of cost. And so I just want to chip this in, also sort of like slightly market my book. But then as you're thinking of doing this business, I think it's actually a strong competitive advantage that you also source labor from Nigeria. But the things you can, like combinations, like I was talking about, somebody to the cleaning, yes, somebody has to be physically there to clean, change the beddings, all that, checking guests. You don't want to use the self-checking system, but communication that can be digitally. I will strongly advocate that you consider pushing it to Nigeria so that we can be able to pass on some jobs here, pass on some income here. People can use it to take care of themselves and their families. All right. Thank you, John.
Okay. Thank you, Obina. This is just Kachi, just a quick few words on this. This is a very good, what you've just said is something that when I was in Nigeria about a month ago, and just looking around the situation in terms of what the inflation has done, the truth is that it's not even a question of if it's an option, but we should consider it a priority right now. The state that the country is, Kachi and I, we caught up in Lagos about 3 weeks ago, and we talked about this, that with this situation of the country now in terms of the Naira, not only does it create an opportunity for business process outsourcing, what Obina has described, but also sort of an economic cushion, and we owe it to, I just feel a sense of devoir, as they say, a sense of responsibility to also do the same as what Obina has said. So we encourage as much people to consider that there's a financial advantage, but also the impact in terms of the social impact is also there. So it's also some of the things that I'm working on at the moment in terms of most of what we do in communications. Whatever I do is outsourced to Nigeria in terms of communications to a very large extent. Whatever is outsourceable is outsourced. And whatever you can outsource is what you do here. And if you consider it, imagine if just look at what the minimum wage here in terms of and these are skills that can be done from anywhere in the world. If you look at what the minimum wage is here and you convert that, if you're paying somebody, let's say 200, let's say 150,000 for communications, that is less than 50 euros, right? So not only are you, and that amount of money to somebody that can do 5, 6 of such kind of jobs, communication is part-time most times, can actually fend for a family, their family, live well, while you're also saving money because you're outsourcing. So business process outsourcing is now a global phenomenon, and no country in the world can survive without outsourcing, because that's the concept of international trade. So yeah, something to consider. Thank you, Bina, for mentioning this, and would like to encourage more people to consider this. And I'll place an order for your book. Please keep one for me, an autograph copy. I'll reach out to you later on. Yeah, thanks. So now we have maybe Kachi can follow up with the next speakers. I think I see
So I think
Babatunde has joined. Abiodun is also connected.
Abiodun is also here. So yes, we have heard so much about the short letting and everything around short letting during the Olympics. This is a very huge opportunity, not just for your apartment or for anybody's apartment, but for also to give the service of checking in, check out, ensuring that the place is clean and all of that. That's a service. If you manage 2, 3 apartments to do that, that's some money that you can make without having to worry so much about it. So yeah, I think we would call on Abiodun to further give us share some more information with us. Abiodun, please.
Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me, Kachi and everyone? All right, very insightful discussions. I thank Tayo and Ubina for those inputs. I have some few members of our network here in Paris who already leased their apartments for the whole Olympics. One of them said he's moving to Netherlands to go and stay with his girlfriend, and he already rented it out. So July, August, he's packing his load. So even me, I've been trying to woo my wife to say, must we be in Paris? Can't we just let's 2 months? Let's get outside. Cash it. Okay. On the global perspective, so what we're doing also at FON, but this might not apply to everyone. Maybe for people in business, because something came up while everybody was talking. I think Tayo also mentioned about timing. That if you're going to be in a job 8 to 5, then maybe you don't have the bandwidth to be able to do something. So on the global perspective, we have an ongoing discussion with few stakeholders in Nigeria. As you know, Olympics for the entire world, but just for the leverage that we have with the Nigerian government and few private sector. So we're trying to host some dedicated Nigerian events in partnership with government stakeholders in Nigeria during the Olympics. And so if you're a business person, of course, this will be coordinated by Ajibola, Kachi and the team, the business committee. What we're trying to do is to have some of our business, owners within the community to leverage on that wave. So the platform we're trying to have is have a dedicated exhibition front. It will be subsidized by the stakeholders from Nigeria. So that's why we're still discussing with them where they will be coming. They would subsidize the entire thing. And throughout the period of the Olympics, for let's say 1 to 2 weeks at the least, there will be dedicated spots where people can come and then come and sort of get to be familiar with Nigerian culture. So for instance, you have a dedicated exhibition place where when you go, I can find a Nigerian DJ or a Nigerian food. I can find a Nigerian service provider. And so even as much as it's going to, of course, solve the problems of the Nigerian delegates who are coming, but the goal is to leverage on our internal resource to mobilize other European stakeholders. So see it as a mini Nigerian exhibition booth. So we try to do that with many engagement that happen in France over the past few years. So whenever there's a big event, we sort of have a Nigerian, dedicated platform. For instance, there's a recent event that happened not too long, although was fronted by private sector. It's called Salon de l'Agriculture. So that's the biggest agricultural exhibition program in Europe. Over 600,000 people come every year. Impact the exposition in Paris. And so there was a Nigerian pavilion for the entire 10 days. And in that pavilion, of course, this year we've had people like Boa, Dangote, exhibit there, but you also had small SMEs who were there. So for the Olympics, we know it's about sports, but the goal that we've been trying to, work amongst ourselves is how do we use this opportunity to help support businesses, entrepreneurs, who are within the network. So for instance, somebody's an arts collector, you have artifacts. What if we're able to give you some level of support? But again, this will not come totally for free. So that's why the World Day is subsidized. So we are trying to get the government to subsidize this and then involve our diaspora entrepreneurs to leverage on that. So rather than you going to have a shop by yourself in your house or somewhere nobody would come, you are now leveraging on a bigger, pool where there's some level of soft landing. Activities will be happening. So the goal is even within those engagements of exhibition, there'll be Nigerian musical day. It will be open to those who want to attend, whether Nigerians here coming from Nigeria for the Olympics or other, international guests. We're going to be having cultural nights, right? All of those things. So the goal is to spotlight Nigeria on the sidelines. And of course, this will not be open, so we can host 15 million people. So it will be very limited. And even if we're a diaspora member, it will not be open because there'll be limited capacity. So the most important things to maybe keep in mind is number one of the probably issues that we've had or challenges that we've been trying to solve over the years is also people who are registered, there's a limit of how we can go. For instance, if you don't have a registered business and you've been operating a business for 3-5 years in France, it's even tough for us to be able to support you with links, let's say opportunities for fundraising connected to stakeholders. So I'm saying some of these criteria might be, the business committee might have to pull that to say, let's give room to people who have actually put a skin in the game. If you've gone the far, even incorporating a company, it just shows that, to some extent, even though you're not running this full time yet, but at least there's a skin in the game. And of course, there will be some other elements that internally, once the business committee leadership discuss about it, we'll have that. So what is expected from your end is that, prepare your mind. You already know the dates, as John mentioned in the first slide, when the Olympics will be holding. Once you finalize all of the background work, the committee would send in a form to say, okay, what exactly do you do? Name of your company, what service do you provide? Because you also want it to be that you're coming to the pavilion or whatever would be the exhibition ground would not just add value for you, but also adds value for the Nigerian, building or pavilion or whatever it is. So we are selling Nigeria, but in this sense, we are selling it through your own company. So practical example, I know there are many chefs on this call right now. Of course, you can't talking about Nigerians' culture without talking about delicacies and food and cuisines. So people coming to be able to have small chops, but eating, even different kind of finger foods, it's good for the brand of. So that way we can push you forward to say this person needs to come. And so ideally you pay minimum token, they don't need the money, right? But we also don't want them to feel like, diasporas don't have anything to offer. So rather than say everybody in the diaspora who is a business person would like to come for free, it sends the wrong signal that we don't even have a serious network of people who are really business minded. So it will cost a token, but of course, if you do your work well, you should be able to recover that cost, times 10 of it, because you're supposed to be coming there on a daily basis, if at least throughout the period where we're going to have that dedicated booth for Nigerian entrepreneurs. So that's one. Aside also having that thing that promotes Nigeria, the other thing is also that we want to use this also as there's an ongoing conversation myself and John have been leading with a major agency in Nigeria. And the goal of the agency also, John probably will touch on that later on, because we don't want to disclose the name here because it's still an ongoing conversation for the past over a year or 2 years, is that they have funding targeted towards businesses in the diaspora. That's actually, and the reason why they've not done anything is because they have no clue on how to do it, right? And so we also want to use this Olympics period to, bring some of the entrepreneurs like yourselves, for those who are business minded here. And if this prototype works well, we want to be able to now approach that agency, because what they want to do is to set up different cultural houses in different European countries. And of course, FON is not a business. FON can only facilitate. Why we have not gone all headlong to be able to get this done is because we want to be sure we even have the entrepreneurs who can lead it. So for instance, they want somebody who is into cultural. If you're a Nigerian linguistics person, who will feel like, young second generation Nigerians in the diaspora they are forgetting their language. They can't speak Yoruba, Igbo, whatever. And you have, I'm giving you practical cases, right? So you have developed something that can help people still have affinity to the language. We have somebody who is part of the ESCOs of Friends of Nigeria in Belgium who does this. So aside being an ESCO in FON, she works with European partners to integrate and maintain the Igbo culture. And so she teaches second generation Nigerians and third generation Nigerians in Belgium, Igbo. So if we have that kind of thing in France, so from language to anything, so because the goal of the agency is promote Nigeria's identity, and they have funding for that. But when we bring that to, to the context of France or Europe, what they have access, who are the business people that we can put this in their hands that can run it? So we are careful. We don't want to run this because it's not our job to run. But so these Olympics would be a test case for us to say, here is somebody in the factory promoting fabrics, in European context, come, exhibit and see how it goes. And here is somebody in food, here is somebody in service provisions, probably somebody who has fleets of Uber cars. It depends, right? Whatever business you think makes sense for the kind of context we're trying to look at, then you'd, of course, make money out of this event because it won't be free for whoever is coming. So approach with your services, you already have a bad one-god effect because people, you don't even have to advertise. FON and the agencies for these Olympics will be doing the adverts, right? Say everybody come to this period, we'll be leveraging our French networks. Nigerian has this party here, please come here for this event. And so traffic would come there naturally. But based on what we see in terms of the output, then we can now look for critical members within the FON community in France, and then take this more sustainable, business engagement to the next level, where we can now talk to the agency. We think we have 5 trusted hands, one in food, one in fashion, one in language, whatever it is, and say, let's now set this up, because what they want to set up is something sustainable. So they fund it, but they want to put this in the hands, because they can't be the government and the agency and be running that from Nigeria. And that does everyone want to be involved in that. So we want business-minded people. So what we are saying this is because, it's quite a small house. And for you to have taken time to actually have registered for this, I feel like it means you're already thinking about opportunities in business areas. So the goal is for you to know that beyond even the Olympics, there are other opportunities that we would be happy to work with you if you really do have something already structured that we can join forces with you to grow. And like John was saying, the goal for us, again, why are we doing this? What's in it for us? When we support your business and your business grows, you have no choice. You must employ people. So a time will come, you can't be the one doing social media, going for writing proposals. Worst case scenario, you can't employ anybody within FON community because of SMIC, and it's too much, 1,700 or 900. You will not have to employ people in Nigeria, like Obin and Joe were talking about outsourcing. So the ripple effect is what we're looking at to say we support businesses. There's no other way, that's the indirect way to create jobs. And you also, create sustainability for people's earnings. So that's the overall of what we're looking at for Olympics. So details will be coming up, but once you get that form to register your business to be part of the exhibition and all the from the business community, please do also fill, and you get updates from Ajibola and the entire team. Yeah, thanks, Kachi.
Thank you very much, Piotr. Thank you. So we're going to go back, John. I'm going to put back I need to share my screen to put back the presentation. So
yes,
we have talked about everything from short letting to the opportunities presented by Friends of Nigeria during the Olympics. So now let's proceed to other. Just 1 minute. To the other stuff that we have based on John's presentation. So here we go. Okay.
Okay, so if there are questions based on all the contributions that have happened so far, please drop them on the group. We can also now begin to take questions. If there are other contributions, please don't hesitate to, you can raise your hands and we can just call you and you make your contributions. We can just keep it as succinct as we've had in previous sessions. Thank you.
Okay, I hope everyone can see my screen and John, is my screen showing?
Yes, it's very clear. I can see it on my end. Babatunde Ojora of OJB Sports will join us shortly. He just said he's connecting. So once he does, we can go to more around sports journalism, because he's been able to build quite an incredible career around this, and taking advantage of a space that didn't exist before. He started it here in France and now expanding across Europe. So we'll just hear from him. He might have some other information about opportunities during the Olympics. Yeah. So are there any questions? I see Cynthia was asking about the categories. So do you mean the opportunities, or what do you mean by categories? Could you just provide any additional information? Thanks.
Okay, hi. What I meant was, Abiodun kept talking about food and languages, so the cultural aspect. So I just wanted to be sure if for the exhibition, other people, let's say fashion, can also exhibit. So I just wanted to know the categories of business aside food, language, and maybe services. What other categories would be allowed to exhibit.
All right. So Abiodun, over to, could you comment on this?
Yeah, thanks. I think I think I also mentioned fashion, right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yeah.
Not is an inexhaustive list still, as long as you have something and you already have you think there's a market for it for the Nigerian. So the criteria really is that one, it is service, but it also sort of touches on the Nigerian culture, right? So that's why it's called Nigerian exhibition. So I think I mentioned music, DJ, food. Yeah. So fashion, I mean, you can't talk about culture, not talk about how people dress. So definitely it's that's part of it. The only ones I talked about were the ones that came to my head, and that's because I know people would do it. So, but beyond the language, some of you probably do other incredible things that we don't even know about. So if indeed you have other services that are not mentioned, please, once you fill the form, please feel free to register your interest for the exhibition.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Abiodun. John, I think we should also talk a bit on the tourism and tours part before OGB comes in. Because I believe
Yes.
this is something that is also very variable during this time. I'm sure you can share more on that.
Yes. So Kachi, there was another, I sent an updated one presentation. So it has,
Okay.
by through WhatsApp. So if you can just pull this up. Samuel has a question. I see Samuel's hand is up. So Samuel, over to you.
All right. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for this. I've actually been thinking of ways to kind of make money during this Olympics period, and I had some things written down. I don't know if this would be necessary or if it's needed, but I actually had the accommodation thing written down. And there's one thing that Nigerians usually do when they travel, they shop a lot. So I don't know how we can leverage the possibility of working with Nigerians coming to France by working with the personal shoppers that we know in Paris. Because obviously a lot of people will be from Nigeria in France. So how can we be able to use this opportunity to probably get some people that they are already doing the personal shopping thing to know who and who would be shopping and how to involve them or how to connect them with those that are doing personal shopping. That's one. Then apart from that, I was also thinking of the language. So there are people on the FON team, I presume that they are into translation thing. So I was also thinking, okay, how can we leverage on that opportunity? Because not everyone in the business committee will be available during this period to assist with translation and things. So how can we also make do of these people's services as well as making money both ways? Then the last one, yes, parties. Nigerians will definitely want to go and have good fun in Paris. So would FON, probably not FON, is there going to be some Nigerian themed party that we'll be having? And is there a way for us to collaborate with the DJs to making something happen? Because I, for one, even apart from those coming from Nigeria, I would love to have a real good Nigerian party with Nigerians and all, so that we can also be able to network. And yeah, so basically those are the things I was thinking of. I don't know if they are questions or if they are just thoughts. So yeah, that's it. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Samuel. So you've giving us more food for thought, right? And these are areas that, since you're mentioning them, we reckon you're also interested. So there might be people on the call that say, oh, that party thing, we can do it together, because what does it take? You get a hall, and then you announce. Somebody does communications, other people, etc. So these also could be ideas where on this call there might be people interested. And I just came maybe to have like a form. You also mentioned having a form. Let's create this form and also be able to expand it to include suggestions or people stating, or members stating the areas where they might be either having more time or resources to be able to participate, so that we know, okay, if there's this area of opportunity, we know who to call on. So maybe we can do like it helps us do like a stakeholder mapping and also skills or interest around the Olympics. So we know if it's food and you filled in food as your area that you're able to provide a service, and somebody reaches out and says, oh, I'm looking for a caterer, we know, okay, we have this list we can refer to, right? So something for us to think of, I leave this on the table of the business committee. So Ajibola Kachi, so something we should work on, and other members of business committee, maybe like a stakeholder mapping around the Olympics, right? As an offshoot of this webinar, so that as we're making contributions, we know who is interested in real estate, who has the property that wants to rent, who has time on their hands, but not necessarily property, but can manage the ones for others, so that we can sort of match people, even beyond all of us that are present on this call. Yeah. Building your hands are up. Do you want to make some contributions?
Yeah. So that's speaking to Samuel's point on shopping. So I think that's also a great service. So that's the whole idea of this brainstorming. So for anybody interested in that, we have no problem with saying, we know most of these Nigerians are coming to shop, right? And they're going to need help. So, and even for our own events that we do every year, the truth is that they're always requesting for that. So what I will ask somebody who might be interested in that is, number one, of course, you have to have the time, right? So you know the way Nigerians are generally. So if somebody is, I mean, a businessman, a CEO with his family, say take us somewhere, you can't leave them stranded. So one is availability. The second thing is, if before you come for such an event, maybe now you have time before the Olympics, if you can get like membership cards, for instance, Sephora. So, it won't make a difference as much, right? That and I mean, not like they're going to save so much money, but it's something about, telling people, oh, I can take you to Sephora, you shop, and you can get discount because you can use my membership. I'm saying this because I know somebody who has done that. So if you think you have a map of what the shopping things are, maybe Gallery Lafayette, those malls that you think Nigerian HNIs would like to go around, gets already membership cards because they don't need it. They will come here and the probably not coming again for that 1 year. But since you want to offer that as a service, it makes sense that you are not just saying, "Oh, I can take you around," and it's just because I am, I can walk around. But by saying you have that, you already set yourself apart, and they can bill, because in their mind, whoever has this kind of membership that probably does this as a service for even people week in, week out. So that's my advice to you, Samuel, or anybody on the call. And like John mentioned, once that form comes out, if that's what you're interested in, personal shopper and taking people around, please list that as your own service that you can bring on board. And you actually don't have to exhibit, but of course you can come to the exhibition and then sort of have little flyers or something with your contact details. If you can't make a card, but at the very least something that is handy that we can just throw people directly to you. And of course, you have to be ready, because the question now will be, if 5 people are calling at the same time and they need you the same day, that's the headache you have to worry about. Say, how do you deal with somebody who wants to go to Chatelet and somebody else is saying, take me to Creek to buy things, so just think of all of this even before you make a commitment, because on the other end, what we also don't want is that people come and they are outsourced to you, and then you have to disappoint them because you don't have the bandwidth, either because of work or because you've gotten too much demand, and then you have to turn many people down. So please put all of this in context, even as you prepare for that kind of service. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, brother.
All right, thank you, Biodun. So that's a very interesting one as well, and I think that also comes under this tourism and tours thing. You can always provide pickup services if you have a car. You can decide to accompany people as well, show them around town. as a tour guide. Whatever, there's so much opportunities here that you can take advantage of in terms of shopping, like you all have said. Shopping is something that a lot of Nigerians do for sure when they come to Paris. They want to shop and they want to see all the famous sites that they see on TV or that they've read about. So this is why tourism and tours is something that would be a huge success during that period as well. Okay, do we have OJB Sports yet, or?
If he doesn't join, then we'll just wrap it up. He was just supposed to talk about the sports journalism part of things, because not every media house, something to think about as well, not every media house can afford to fly their journalists to France for the Olympics. So there might be some small media house in Nigeria that wants to have a representation but cannot send somebody from Nigeria, or maybe the person did not get a visa or something. This is an opportunity. I wanted him to talk about that, so that if he knows of opportunities but he cannot handle them, and we have some journalists in the house, those that have a flair for journalism, that can just, take the videos, attend some matches and all of that. That's a massive opportunity as well, for those that are looking in that space. Then also, maybe Obina can talk about this very quickly, is on the area of tourism, right, and tours. Are there agencies that members interested in tours can register under? Because those agencies will be overwhelmed this period and they will need short-term hires, right? Any suggestions for such short-term Olympic jobs? If anyone knows any links that they're advertising such, please drop it on the chat, so that anyone interested or knows other people that this could benefit, because a lot of people are looking for that period opportunities to work or make some extra money. That's the best time, because there'll be a lot of short-term jobs. So if we know, please drop it there, so that we can circulate this and share with others as well. Yeah. Obina, maybe just on tours, any suggestions for agencies that can that have opportunities for those interested in this area?
Is Obina still on the call?
Obina still connected. Yes, he is. Obina, are you there? You're on mute.
So let's see.
Okay. Who knows who has, for instance, done any tour or tourism jobs that can actually speak to this? Is there anyone that?
If there are none, also, this is something that when we send out the forms, you can also indicate your interest in taking people out for tourism. So if you know a lot about the popular tourist attractions, and how the modalities of getting there and how to get tickets and all of that stuff, that is something that you can also register as an interest or service that you want to render during that time, and we'll take note of that as well.
Okay. So I think it's been a great session. If there are any questions, please feel free to drop it on the group. Any other contributions? So we've talked about short stay rentals. If you have a listed property on short stay rentals, right, wherever in France, please feel free to share them. You can share them on this webinar, right? I will find a way to, I think we should find a way to also to share this on the group, just to also support those that are looking during the Olympics to do this. And so that if we know people coming from outside France for some games and they need where to stay, we know that, oh, we have this sort of list of properties that are owned by members, just to support as well, and we can just share that, right? So this is also something we can, I would suggest that the business committee can take a lead on compiling, because if there are needs for where to stay, there will be pressures from accommodation that period. So it's also win-win to those coming in, because if people have properties that are not yet rented, they can actually we can actually support to suggest those to people that we know. So if you have a property that is listed, you can just drop it here on the charts, yeah, and then we'll do a compilation.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for those who also have whatever service, if it's in the food, hospitality, the rentals, tourism, whatever you want to do, please, when we send out the forms, please indicate what service you are going to offer, and we'll make the compilation and then try to reach out to you directly to see what the opportunities that we have inside that will benefit you. So thank you very much, John. Do we have any more questions before we go? Or I see that Ajibola has shared a link for job offers in Paris during the Olympics. So please go to that link, see what you can do or what offers are there. Whatever that is interesting to you, please do apply and give it a shot. You definitely get more details for the Olympics pavilion from us. So stay tuned and look out for our messages and flyers on the group. So, John, can you wrap it up for us since we do not have OGB Sports tonight?
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to everyone for joining. This has been an interesting session. Thanks to the business committee for putting this together and leading this. This is a way to also is if our businesses grow, if members grow in business, it creates a ripple effect, right? And recently I was listening to this might inspire some of us. I was listening to a webinar by a Nigerian that has done tremendously well here. And he was talking about, his name is called Wale. He was the recipient of the Business Entrepreneur of the Year award that happened at the Nigerian in Diaspora Awards last year. And we also would encourage everyone that was not there last year to attend. I see Dr. Jude is connected. Dr. Jude got the award for the academic of the year for last year. He's a professor at NSIC in Paris. So he recently did a webinar about how he sold his company. He sold his company. He didn't disclose, but his company was sold for anywhere between 12 and 20 million euros. He was 100% owner. I've gone through his books because in France you can actually do that. His company was doing very well. I mean, he was doing millions of euros in EBITDA. EBITDA is earning before interest, tax,
and
depreciation.
depreciation.
That's not revenues, and that's profit, before tax. It wasn't more than €1 million of that, right? Had contracts with companies like Netflix, and I remember when Abiodun and some other of our executive members went to his office in Paris, how inspired I was, but you see this guy very unassuming. If you meet him in the metro, you might not want to sit beside him. He's very unassuming. He's very down to earth and very intelligent, has built a very successful company and sold it. And I was talking about how he started, how the power of network, the people he had around him, just being at the right place at the right time, how giving a shot, giving opportunities a shot, how he would aim for and apply for opportunities and jobs and contracts that his company was much smaller to do, but focusing on what their strengths were and what the competitors did not have that they did have. And he built a company from a one-man company, only him. He said when he even did his first proposal, he didn't even have the company registered, right? So we want to see the question we ask ourselves at Friends of Nigeria is really how can we democratize this kind of success? How can we multiply it, And that's why we're having all of this. How can we have many more of this, right? And how can this inspire others? Because it's just about taking the shot most times. And that's why we want to see that for those that are asking themselves, do I register this business? Do I go ahead to do this, etc.? And you've tried it and you've seen that it works, reach out to us. Let's see how we can, support. Because if your business is not registered, can do, as Abiodun mentioned, we can't do so much to grow what does not yet even exist, right? You could start it on an informal basis, but to scale it, to attract investment, like what Deerwin and Wale Gbadamosi has been able to do by selling his company after about 10 years, thereabouts, selling it for such an amount of money. You need to structure the business. It has to be registered. So we are constantly thinking about ways that we can support more entrepreneurs, because the more entrepreneurs they are, the more jobs we can create, so that when people come and they're done with their studies, they can have opportunities, right? To put their skills to work. And he has hired a lot of Nigerians. He has given a lot of Nigerians internship, right? That's the power of the ripple effect. And that's the power of the opportunities he can create. So I encourage whichever of us can listen to that webinar. It's on, you just can type Dear Wayne Walik Badamosi. He did a webinar on, with a particular media on how he sold this company. You can listen to the story about it. It's really inspiring. It just goes to show the sheer grit and the sheer audacity of entrepreneurship, and how sometimes it's not just about even knowing it all, but just giving it a try. Because at the end of the day, it's really just about that. And that's what we want to encourage by sessions like this, to say, here's the opportunity, what can you do about it? Here's the potential, what do you do about it, right? Because there will not be another Olympics in the next 100 years, perhaps, right? And that's what we want to, and this can actually create the next big restaurant. This can actually create the next franchise. This can actually create the next tourism company, right? That will come out of France and out of this network, right? So that's what I want to encourage. I want to really encourage all of you, and thank you for participating, and ask you to give it a shot, right? You might not know how it all works out, but that's why we all are here, right? Some people might have some skills you don't have, some answers you don't have to some of the questions you have, and we can do things together. Let's join forces. Together, each achieves more. And thank you so much for participating. I'm wishing everyone a beautiful, beautiful rest of the weekend. And we'll be in touch and share more information and the form that we promised to share. Thank you, Kachi, my able co-host that has done an amazing job on this. And thank you to all the panelists that contributed. Abiodun, thank you so much. My co-founder at Friends of Nigeria and our vice president. And also Tayo, who lives down close to Orléans and working with in the food industry, right, Tayo? I hope I got it right. And Obina, who was our former head of business committee and now an entrepreneur. And every contribution that has been made on this call during this one.
So
Wishing
thank you. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone, for participating. It's been great hosting this with John and sharing this time with you all. I hope by the time we send the recordings, please feel free to go through it over and over again to get more information. But also you can drop us a line on the group chat. You can drop a message, whatever it is, and we'll get back to you. We'll also be sending a form so that you can fill in and pick your interest and let us know what you want to do during that time, and we'll take note of that. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great weekend.
We recognize also the business committee members for doing an amazing job. All of you are doing a great job, really. All the webinars and everything. Wow. There's a lot of learning.
Thank you very
going
much
on.
to the team.
Please join us. If you want to join the business committee, feel free. This is thanks to that teamwork happening. We're going to be also rolling out forms for us that want to join committees. We have different committees. I know Pella is on the call. She wanted to join the communications committee as well. We really strongly encourage that. Please, let's all come together and do this, because we're doing this for ourselves, right? So please get involved in a committee and also bring your contributions on board. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you very much. Everyone have a great evening. Yes, see you soon. Bye.